There is something sitting in your kitchen right now, something most people over 60 eat every single day without even thinking about it. Not a junk food, not a fast food chain, something that looks perfectly normal, maybe even healthy. And yet, researchers who study longevity, the science of living longer and feeling better, have started calling it one of the most overlooked threats to health in the second half of life. So before you open your fridge today, before your next meal, I want you to stay with me for a few minutes, because what you're about to hear might change something very simple in your daily routine. And that small change could add real, meaningful years to how well you feel. Here's what makes this so tricky. We've all been told our entire lives that certain foods are fine, normal, part of a balanced diet. And for a long time, that advice wasn't necessarily wrong. When you were 30 or 40 years old, your body was handling things differently. But when you cross 60, something shifts. Your metabolism changes. Your gut processes food differently. Your inflammatory response becomes more sensitive. And the foods that your body used to manage without a second thought can now create a quiet, slow kind of damage that builds up over years. The problem is, you often don't feel it happening. Not right away. There's no sudden alarm. It's subtle, a little more fatigue than usual, joints that ache more in the morning. A feeling of being slightly off that you just chalk up to getting older. But here is what the research is starting to show. A lot of that discomfort isn't just aging. Some of it, maybe a surprising amount of it, is being driven by specific foods that are very common in the daily diet of people over 60. So what is this food? Ultra-processed carbohydrates. And I want to be specific here because that phrase sounds scientific and distant. But what I'm really talking about is something most people eat before 9 a.m. White bread, packaged cereals, instant oatmeal with added flavoring, crackers, pastries, the kind of foods that come in a box, have a long shelf life, and feel like a normal, harmless breakfast or a snack. Now, I'm not here to make you feel bad for eating any of these things. That's not the point at all. Most of us grew up with these foods. They were marketed to us as convenient, affordable, even fortified with vitamins. But what's happening inside the body when you eat them regularly, especially after 60, is a different story than what the packaging suggests. These foods are digested extremely fast. They spike blood sugar quickly, and then blood sugar drops, sometimes just as fast. That cycle, repeated daily, quietly starts wearing down the systems that are supposed to keep you well. Let me explain this in a way that makes sense without getting too deep into science. When you eat ultra-processed carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into sugar very quickly. Your blood sugar rises. Your pancreas releases insulin to deal with that sugar. Then blood sugar comes back down. That's the basic cycle, and when you're young and healthy, your body manages this fairly well. But here's what changes as we get older. After 60, insulin sensitivity starts to decline for many people. That means your cells don't respond to insulin as efficiently as they used to. So you need more insulin to do the same job. And over time, that puts stress on your pancreas, your cardiovascular system, and creates something researchers call chronic low-grade inflammation. That phrase, chronic low-grade inflammation, is one of the most important things to understand about aging well. Because inflammation at a low level, day after day, is now linked in the research to a long list of conditions: heart disease, cognitive decline, joint pain, fatigue, and even how fast your cells age at a biological level. And the foods that most reliably trigger and maintain that inflammation in older adults are exactly the ultra-processed refined carbohydrates that millions of people over 60 eat without a second thought every single morning. Now, I want to be careful here because I think it's important to be honest with you rather than just alarming. There is real growing evidence linking ultra-processed food consumption to accelerated aging and poorer health outcomes in older adults. A large study published in a major nutrition journal followed tens of thousands of adults over many years and found that those with the highest intake of ultra-processed foods had significantly higher rates of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and all-cause mortality, meaning they were more likely to die earlier from any cause. Another body of research has looked specifically at what's called biological aging, not how old you are on your birthday, but how old your cells actually look under a microscope. And people who regularly consumed high amounts of refined carbohydrates showed measurably older cells than those who ate diets rich in whole foods. That's not a scare tactic. That's what the data is showing. And perhaps the most important piece, these effects were more pronounced in adults over 60, not because older adults are weaker, but because the cumulative effect of years of eating this way starts to show up more clearly, and the body's ability to compensate and recover becomes more limited. I want to stop here for a moment and say something I think matters a great deal. None of this is your fault. You were not handed a manual when you turned 60 that said, by the way, the foods you've been eating your whole life are now going to work against your body in a different way. No one told you that the breakfast habits you built over decades, the ones that felt safe and familiar, were quietly going to become a problem. The food industry has spent billions of dollars making processed foods convenient, tasty, and addictive. They are designed to make you want more of them. They are designed to feel like comfort. And for many people, especially older adults living alone or with limited energy to cook elaborate meals, these foods are practical. They are easy. They are accessible. So I'm not here to tell you to feel guilty about what you've been eating. That would be unfair, and frankly, it would miss the point entirely. What I am here to tell you is that now you have information, and with that information, you have a real opportunity not to overhaul your entire life, but to make a few thoughtful shifts that your body will genuinely thank you for. So let's talk about what works, because this is not a story that ends with just a problem. The same research that identifies ultra-processed carbohydrates as a risk also points very clearly to the foods that protect and support the body after 60. And the good news, real meaningful good news, is that these foods are not exotic. They are not expensive supplements or complicated regimens. They are whole foods that most people already know and can find at any grocery store. The first category is whole intact grains, not products that say whole grain on the label. I want to be clear about this distinction, but actual whole grains. Oats that look like oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley. These foods release sugar slowly, which keeps blood sugar stable, reduces the insulin roller coaster, and feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut that are closely tied to how well your immune system functions. The second category is vegetables and legumes, specifically the fiber-rich ones that act as food for the microbiome. The community of bacteria in your gut that researchers are now linking to everything from brain health to mood to inflammation levels. Lentils, beans, chickpeas, leafy greens, sweet potatoes. These foods are doing something deep and protective in the body, and most people over 60 are not eating nearly enough of them. The third shift is around protein. Adequate protein becomes more important after 60, not less, and yet many older adults are quietly undereating it. Eggs, fish, legumes, and lean meats all help maintain muscle mass, which is one of the most powerful predictors of how well and how long you live. Now, here's where I want to be realistic with you. Telling someone to change what they eat is easy. Actually doing it, especially when habits run deep, when energy is limited, when cooking for one feels overwhelming, or when certain foods bring real comfort, that's a different thing entirely. So I'm not going to give you a list of 10 things to change this week. That kind of advice rarely sticks. Instead, I want to share 3 very small, very doable shifts that can make a meaningful difference. and that most people find surprisingly manageable. The first shift, change your morning carbohydrate. If you currently start your day with white bread, instant flavored oatmeal, or a sugary cereal, simply swap it for rolled oats with no added sugar, topped with a handful of berries and a boiled egg on the side. That single change, made consistently, starts to stabilize your morning blood sugar in a way that affects your energy and inflammation for the entire rest of the day. The second shift, add one legume serving per day, just one, a small bowl of lentil soup, a serving of hummus with vegetable sticks, a handful of chickpeas added to a salad. Legumes are one of the most consistently longevity-associated foods in the research. Populations around the world who live the longest eat them daily, and most people in Western countries eat them rarely. The third shift, read the ingredient list, not the health claim on the front of the package. If a packaged food has more than 5 ingredients, or if you can't recognize most of them as real food, put it back. This one rule alone eliminates a large portion of the ultra-processed items that quietly accumulate in most people's daily eating. I want to zoom out for a moment because I think there's something bigger worth saying here. When we talk about food and health after 60, we often frame it as avoiding disease, preventing heart attacks, reducing cancer risk, and those things matter enormously. But I think the more personal, more immediate reason to make these changes is something different. It's about how you feel on an ordinary Tuesday morning. It's about whether you have the energy to play with your grandchildren, whether you can take a walk that leaves you feeling alive rather than drained, whether your mind feels sharp when you sit down to read, whether you wake up feeling rested rather than already exhausted. The research on longevity consistently shows that what separates people who age well from those who don't is not one dramatic intervention. It's not a magic supplement or a single superfood. It's the accumulation of daily choices, small, quiet, consistent habits that either work with the body or slowly against it. And food is the most foundational of all those habits because you make it multiple times a day. Every single day, which means you have more opportunities to move in a better direction than almost any other area of your health. The years ahead of you can be genuinely good, not just tolerated, not just managed, actually good. And what you eat is one of the most powerful levers you have to make that true. So here is where I leave you today. Not with a long list of rules, not with a strict meal plan, just with this. The food you eat every day is talking to your body. It's sending signals that either tell your cells to repair and protect or to struggle and inflame. And the most common foods sitting in most kitchens over 60 right now are sending the wrong message quietly, day after day, without anyone realizing it. But now you know, and knowing is the beginning of something. Start with your breakfast tomorrow, just that, one meal, one choice. See how it feels to begin the day differently, with food that truly works with your body at this stage of life, not against it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to change everything at once. You just have to begin. The best years of your life are not behind you. They are being shaped right now in the small, quiet decisions you make every day. Take good care of yourself. You deserve every good year ahead.